Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on European Confessions. There is a message that I want to share with you guys, and this message, it comes from a translation of a message that I received. The translation reads like this: "Hello, my brother, how are you? Can you please post my own story as hidden identity? My brother, my mother was a single mother, and she struggled a lot when she was raising me up. The history that she told me is that they met in the capital city. This was my mother and my father. At the time when my mom found out that she was pregnant, that was when she found out that my dad had another wife and my dad had kids, a family back in the village. My father had lied to my mother about him not being married. My mom was taken by her auntie. She then started staying with my father, still in the capital city. My father then said that now that you are pregnant, I want you to go back home to the village so that you can stay with my parents. That was when my mom found out that my dad had another family back in the village. If he only had a family back in the village, it was far much better. But the other issue was that my father, ever since he had been working in the city, all that he had been doing was chasing women after women, and he had not found the time to properly renovate the house, so they didn't have anywhere where my mom could stay. So my mom ended up living in this other mud hut that was used as a cooking area. That is the history that my mom told me, and this pained me a lot. Until my father passed away, I never wanted to have anything to do with him because he had made my mom to suffer so much. My mother returned back to the city, and she then started working in the city. Whilst she was working in the city, she tried by all means to provide a good life for me. She tried to give me a better education. I went to an only boys high school, and I was so quite bright in school. And what made me to be so bright in school, it was because of my mother's suffering. Whenever I'll feel so lazy to read my books, when I would look at my mom, when I would think of the things that she had to go through for me to go to an expensive school, then I would find myself concentrating on my books. Her suffering was like my inspiration. But when I was in university, that was when I found out that this was nothing but a different environment. The university environment was very different from the high school environment. When I was in university, now I had a lot of freedom, and I was now friends with a lot of rich kids, and I forgot totally about my mother's pain. And when I was in university, I was still bright. There were people from university that realized that I was a bright student, so there were people that used to come to give other bright students some sponsorships so that they can go and study abroad. But I lost all of those opportunities simply because I was just hanging around my rich friends. One of my friends stopped me and he said that by the time that I go to Europe, I am going to make a plan for you. But when we graduated, all of my friends, they just deserted me, and I was left in Zim struggling. And after I had graduated, I still remember looking at my mom as she was suffering from pain, and I felt like a knife that was stuck in my heart each and every time when I would look at my mom, and when I would see that she was suffering, and as if she was regretting ever sending me to all of those expensive schools, because I had gone around trying to find a job and I had failed to get a job. And what pained my mom even more was that she knew that I had lost some opportunities, ignored them. Actually, there were opportunities for me to go and study in America, but I ignored those opportunities because I was hanging around rich friends, and I forgot that I came from a poor family. One day I had gone out to look for a job, and upon my return, I then found out that my mom, she was really disappointed. She was looking really sad, and I went to bed. Just before I had gone to bed, I spoke with the devil, Satan himself, and I said, "Please help me, Satan. Even if it means that I am going to become a Satanist, I don't even care. All that I want is for you to help me, assist me so that I can make my mom proud." When I went to bed, when I fell asleep, then I had a dream. In my dream, I was driving this car. This car was full of money. That was when I had a voice that spoke to me. This spirit told me that it was here to give me a deal, and if I wanted, I could take all the money that was in the car. The spirit said that, know that once you have accepted this money, I can only give you this money for free only once. When you want more, you have to give me something in return. I looked at the money and I was like, all of this money, if you give me this money, then I will never return back to you looking for more money. But when I woke up, I was disappointed, for I was in my room and there was no money. It was just a dream. So I had planned of going to town. The problem was that I didn't have money for taxi. Anyway, I wanted to go and meet up with this other guy that I went to the same varsity with. He was now working in the taxi rank, and I knew that he could actually find a good deal for me, even though I had no license. But I would always find a taxi to drive without a license. The plan was that once I had found a taxi to drive, I was going to quickly get a driver's license. Along the way, there was a man that suddenly stopped his beautiful car, and he told me to get into his car. He was so rude to me. He took me to the shrine. This shrine, it is in the most expensive suburb of Harare. When we arrived at that beautiful house, we met up with the leader. The leader then started teaching me how to worship their God. He told me that out there are different gods. He said that if you hear someone say God, it does not mean like God. There is the God of love, there is a God of hatred, and in their club they worship the so-called God of money. Then I started learning how to worship this God or the idol. I was then given 17,000 US dollars. I tried all businesses that I can with that money that had been given to me. The day that I took the last 2,000 US dollars that was left from the money that had been given to me by that shrine, that was when all hell broke loose. So I had spoken with this other varsity friend of mine. This was when I had tried all businesses. I said, maybe if I try this business of selling second-hand clothes, maybe it is going to work out. So I wanted to go and purchase some of his clothes, and he told me that I had to go to his parents' house because he was in Mozambique. So I said, let me fill up my car at this other garage. I went there. Whilst I was waiting for the petrol attendant to come and fill up in my car, then there was this other man who was also refueling his car. He then spoke with me. He said that you owe some people some money. I said, some people? Who am I owing? I was shocked when he mentioned the name of our God. He then told me that I had to quickly return back to the shrine for further instructions. But my brother, I went to that neighborhood that I knew very well. I drove round and round looking for that same house where I had gone several times attending some lessons, but I could not find this house. It seemed as if it had just disappeared. This house was hiding from me. I was unable to see this house because I still had the 2,000 US dollars in my pocket. The day that this money was finished, I was possessed by a demon. I was just possessed by a demon. Then I went straight into my car. Then I started driving straight to the shrine, straight to that house without ever getting lost. The leader was already waiting for me. He took me inside, and when I went inside the shrine, I saw that by the altar there were other ladies that were also there for the first time, joining our same cult. I was told by the leader that I owe the shrine $1 million, just $1 million, my brother, including interest. So this million is on the loan that I took that was only 17,000 rands. I tried to argue with him, and I was like, how can 17,000 US dollars can turn into $1 million that I have to repay, including interest? And he was like, you do not understand the things of the spirit. They work differently in the spiritual realm. And he said that since I had no money to pay him, all that I had to do was to offer some souls to this cult, and this is what I have been doing. And the first offering was my mother. So I was given a bottle to trap her soul. After I had been given that bottle, I returned back home and I then placed that bottle in her wardrobe. And after that, my mom grew sick and she passed away after her burial. On my way, as I was going to return that bottle back to the shrine, I looked at the bottle and I saw that my mom's spirit was appearing slowly into that bottle. I went with this bottle to the shrine, and the shrine master told me that I had done very well and I had to keep bringing souls to the cult. There are different ways that I bring souls to the cult. I was told that the shrine cannot give me money anymore since I have already used my portion of the money, but they told me that since I was now connected to this club, there were people that were going to assist me. So I was given some trucks, and ever since that year I have been operating these trucks. I use these trucks sometimes to collect souls. The way that I collect these souls, some of it is very sensitive. You cannot mention it on air. Your dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by one of our dear brothers. Then we had to give you this translation.